everyone, it's Monica. Welcome back to Homeschool Voices. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to grade your children's work when you homeschool. In a school setting, a teacher has a class of 20 to 30 kids. And they also have a responsibility to report back to parents on how the kids are doing, on their progress, and this is done primarily with grades. Ideally, when parents see anything but an A, they're going to take action and help that child catch up and find a better way for them to learn. The grade isn't provided so much to mark the child as a good or a bad student, but more than that, it's just supposed to be a tool to help parents and teachers communicate. The downside about grades in a school setting is sometimes they are used to mark kids as a bad student, and you're just maybe a C or D student and the class moves on and you're left behind. But in a homeschool setting, there's no teacher apart from mom or dad, and so there's no need to communicate between parent and teacher. It's really that pace that schools have to keep up that causes trouble. So in a school setting, whether it's public or private, your child will have to keep up. And say they're having trouble in math. Well, they might be a C student in math, but in a homeschool setting, they shouldn't be. You should just take your time until they fully understand everything. So really, all homeschoolers should be A students. There's the idea that you would grade your kid and give them a B or a C and they haven't mastered everything is strange when you have the time and you have the flexibility. And I think when parents do that, it is because they have internalized this public school structure, really. This idea that you have to complete a certain amount of things and you have to follow a certain pacing, and you really don't have to do that. You can take your time. You don't have to get as far as they get in public schools. And in reality, that's just it's just theater. It's not real, because you have all of these kids by the time they're in 9th or 10th grade, and 3/4 of them don't really understand what they're doing in math. And by the time they're adults, your average adult has trouble with fractions. So it looks like they're following a certain pace. It looks like they're accomplishing things, but they're really not. And it's this process of just sort of changing how you think and looking at things with open eyes and realizing that they're not doing what you think they're doing in a school setting. So this idea that your kid's going to get behind, like a lot of people will put their kid in homeschool because maybe they don't like what's happening in the schools, and they say, well, in a year or two, I'm going to put my child back in school and I don't want them to fall behind. Well, in reality, it's hard to imagine that your child is going to fall behind. They probably will be better off because you will take the time to help them truly understand what they're learning. So I suppose it could look like they're behind, but they won't be, because they will have a more solid understanding of the material that they did get through. I think what the fixation with grades is more than anything a desire to have a high school transcript for college admission. But here's the deal. Colleges are requiring transcripts because they're being cheap. Really, what they should be doing is reviewing portfolios, like they used to do, and reading letters of recommendation and doing actual interviews. But that all takes time, and time is money. So they don't want to do that, so they ask for transcripts. That's really what it is. It's just this shorthand attempt to try to weed out poor students. But it is a bad attempt. It is not very effective. So you as a homeschool parent need to only help your child or encourage your child to apply for college if they're actually prepared. And to be prepared, they need to be excellent readers, quick readers, retain information, and they need to be great writers. Now, if they're going to go into a major that requires math, of course, they need to be excellent at math. That's all the college actually cares about. Asking for transcripts is their way of trying to make sure that your child is going to succeed and actually be somebody that is going to thrive at their college or at their university. So you know, as the parent, if they have what it takes to thrive in a college setting. So don't have them apply unless they're going to thrive. And you as the parent, if you're independently homeschooling, you're writing that transcript. So write the transcript. Like, do you really need to fastidiously write down every single little thing they did and every grade that they did? Do you really think that's necessary? Does the college really care? Or do they want you to provide a student to them that is just prepared? I mean, do they really care if they got 8 out of 10 on a spelling test in 4th grade? Do they really care in college if the kid got, 17 out of 20 correct on a biology test? Or do they want a kid that is logical, who can read, who can retain, who can process information, who can write? Just write a transcript. Make it a reasonable representation of what your child has done and can do. Don't misrepresent, but don't be quite so anal about all the little details. You don't really need to grade every little thing for years just so your kid can get into college. It's actually not necessary. We all live in a society with an imperfect educational system. And if you're homeschooling, you're trying to do something better. And sometimes when you're trying to do something better, you have to be creative and you have to think outside of the box. So in my opinion, grades serve no positive purpose, and I do not give them. The question was in the beginning, how do you grade in a homeschool setting? The answer is, you don't.